Daytona, first round in the 1970 World Sports Car Championship. Two works-backed Porsche 917s in the Gulf oil colours for the first time. The opposition includes a rival 917 from the Salzburg team and a powerful lineup of Ferraris returning from exile, self-imposed in protest against new prototype regulations. Rodriguez and Kinnunen come through without a hitch. And, thanks to a well-prepared car, impeccable pit work and superb driving, break the Daytona distance record by a fantastic 372 miles.
Behind the scenes.
From the start, the Gulf Porsches are pressed hard by the X and Surtees Ferraris. Eventually, the Rodriguez-Kinnunen 917 is forced to retire with mechanical trouble, leaving only Siffert to battle with the leading Ferrari. In the middle of it all, the local Ferrari, driven by De Vierland and Derek Bell, catches fire, yet still goes on to take 8th place. The JW team are at their best under pressure, and in the end, the honours go to Siffert and Redmond in first place for Gulf. Again, 9 more championship points for Porsche, 6 for Ferrari.
Daytona is a very short circuit with a lap time of well under 2 minutes, so it's very difficult in a 24-hour race to keep track of all the cars. We were pretty happy about our first car because it was leading by about 190 miles. But we weren't exactly sure whether our second car was in front of Mario Andretti or behind him. So to play safe, we signaled to Siffert that he was behind, and this was when he put on his great charge in the last half hour, which was the high spot of the race. In fact, it was completely unnecessary because he was in front all the time.
I always try to win, but when I don't win, I'm content with second place, or third, or fourth. Like at Daytona, where I was second, but it gave me as much satisfaction as winning.
In a moment, the 12 hours of Sebring, fast and furious. It's been that way for 20 years. After a pace lap tour of the 5.2-mile road course, 68 cars are ready for the 20th running of the Sebring 12-hour Endurance Classic. Mario Andretti in Ferrari number 19 leads the field as the race gets underway. Behind him, Porsches, Ferraris, Alfa Romeos, Mazdas, and a variety of road racing machines guaranteed to provide excitement even into the nighttime hours that lie ahead. The red Ferrari 512S leads through the hairpin, followed by Joe Siffert in Porsche number 14. And Andretti led from his pole position on the grid, which he earned with a 121.9-mile-an-hour Sebring lap record. 10 cars bettered last year's qualifying mark, set by Chris Amon in a Ferrari. Trouble back at the hairpin. 2 Lola Coupes mix it up. Bob Brown in number 26 continues, but light duty would complete just 1 lap of the race. Entering the long north-south runway, Andretti opened his lead. Here the cars reach maximum speed, the fastest ones close to 200 miles an hour. Pit straight, lap 1. Ferrari number 19. Siffert's Porsche is next, and already the cars vie for position. In third place, Jackie Ickx in Ferrari number 20 has moved ahead of Vic Elford's number 16 Porsche, with Pedro Rodriguez in the second Wire Engineering Porsche, a close fifth. Decided that Andretti will drive the only Ferrari still in contention. Giunti discusses strategy as Andretti waits for the number 21 car. Strategy is simple. Overtake the 2 Porsches and win the race. Ferrari's deficit is better than 1 lap, and it's doubtful that even Andretti can do it. It wasn't long before Andretti unlapped himself. He is now 5 miles behind the leader, and in pursuit of the second place Revson McQueen car. Minutes from the end, Siffert roared into the pits with more trouble for Porsche. A wheel hub failure, the same problem that occurred on the sister car, has stricken Porsche's hopes of victory. At the same time, Andretti overtook Revson, and once again, Ferrari led. The 12 hours of Sebring was over, and Ferrari had won. For the 8th time in the 20-year history of the 12-hour Enduro, Ferrari took the checkered flag. McQueen Revson was second, Alfa Romeo third, and the surviving Wire Porsche fourth. Victory Lane in a moment. Victory Lane at Sebring. The winning car, Ferrari number 21. Mario Andretti visits the winner's circle for the 2nd time at Sebring. After leading most of the race, his car failed with transmission problems, and Andretti transferred to the winning car, kept in contention throughout the race by original drivers Ignacio Giunti and Nino Vaccarello.
Trying to speak English yet, Mario? Yeah. Congratulations. What a...
The monsoon season starts for the BOAC 1000. The drivers put on a brave face. The fuel arrives, and the pits stock up. The cars and supplies join the circuit. Some of the drivers were quite surprised. It seemed a bit darker when you got outside the tunnel. Cars form up on the grid for the noon start, with 2 Ferraris and 1 Porsche in the front row for the 3rd round of the 1970 World Sports Car Championship. Pedro Rodriguez adjusts his visor, and Piers Courage tries to keep dry in the Alfa. And the Atwood Herman Porsche 917 has a top-up. Herbert Muller ponders in the Filipinetti Ferrari 512S. Joe Bonnier hopes for better luck this year in the Lola T70 Mark IIIB. Siffert arrives to drive the other John Wire Porsche 917, and the Martini Porsche team make it a party.
The big question is tyres, and the Ferrari team changed their wet ones for wetter. Jackie X tries to demist his screen. And Nick sends them off to try the circuit in the wet. The cars reform on the grid as noon approaches. Smith drops the flag, and the BOAC 1000 regatta is on. Vic Elford in the white Porsche 917 takes the lead from the outside of paddock, followed by X, Seifert, Amon, Courage, Rodriguez, and the rest. Nobody's quite sure whether the lights are on to see or just as a reminder. Coming off clearways on the first lap, the drivers were fighting to hold their cars on line on the rain-soaked track, and not all were successful. Barry Smith in the Sid Taylor Lola crashes, and the car disintegrates in front of the press box. The driver is unhurt, and the marshals make a quick rescue. This is the moment when good marshalling really tells. It prevents an accident becoming a tragedy. The race is slowed while the debris is cleared. And Nick, the governor, waves the yellow flag. The flying Rodriguez does not see the flag, and he is duly called in and reprimanded. Lap 2, and X in the Ferrari passes Elford and leads the race. This causes a certain amount of excitement amongst the Italian camp. But their joy was short-lived, for X comes in next lap with wiper motor failure, letting Elford back into the lead. The Gulf John Wire pit brings in the leading Porsche to refuel and change tyres. This Porsche pit shows particularly good pit work. Kinnunen wants to go, but Pedro gets back in. Now, Pescarolo comes in to refuel the Alfa. This pit favors the NASCAR churn, and the fuel goes in without a hitch. While co-driver Dardamich has a final word with Pescarolo. Now it's Ferrari's turn, and X brings in the 312. Regazzoni takes over. The fuel goes in. And he's away, now in 8th place, in spite of earlier troubles. He's away, still in the lead. And still it rains. Where's my teammate? Says Jack. There he is, Cobber, having a burn up at South Bank. And indeed he was, but no harm was done to the driver. Surprisingly enough, they managed to put a new flint in and went on to continue the race. The Ferrari pit brings in the X Oliver car to refuel and change tyres. X gets out, the fuel goes in. Wheels are checked. But it's not as quick as the JW Porsches were. Oliver refuels. X gets back in, and he's back in the race. Just trimming a marshal. Things look good for John Wire. But the second car, now driven by Brian Redman, is overdue. And sure enough, Redman appears on foot, having a Bamses And the marshals, doing a fine job in appalling conditions, are now faced with failing light. The JW Porsche has an unassailable lead, with the Elford Hulme 917 in second place, followed by the Atwood Herman 917. Elford Hulme 917 in second place, followed by the Atwood Herman 917. Rodriguez takes the checkered flag and proves his mastery in wet weather driving. A convincing victory for the Gulf John Wyer team, which must have pleased Maestro John Wyer and David York. It was a miserable race for Ferrari, with Eamon best placed at 5th behind the Porsches. The weather conditions slowed the race average and inevitably lengthened the race duration.
Italy next, the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Heartened by sunshine and success, the Gulf team enter in high good humor.
Monza was a very interesting race. Pedro won again for Gulf, but all Ferraris went well and all finished, and we had to work really hard. Our pit work was always a bit better than Ferrari, so they had to go faster and faster in order to get further and further behind, which must have been rather demoralizing for them. Another interesting thing was that Siffert spun and crashed after 11 laps, so Pedro had to take over Seppi's role as pacemaker, which he did extremely well and built up a considerable lead. When Kinnunen took over, he lost most of it, so Pedro had to do the whole job a second time.
At Monza, I was running with the 4.5-liter engine against all the 5-liter Ferraris. It was very difficult to keep up with them, and because of that, I was making a very hard race. I made an average speed over 144 miles an hour, and I won the race. But Ferrari came on second, third, and fourth, and it was a very tough one.
At Monza, Gulf first again. But
Here, since 1906, there's been a race held in these mountains. You'd think you wouldn't see many cars out here with the goats and sheep, but the island of Sicily was the home of an eccentric Italian count named Vincenzo Florio. And there was nothing he liked more at the turn of the century than to race through these mountains. Come on, I'll give you a ride on the circuit. The trick at the Targa Florio, aside from staying on the road, is to go as fast as possible for as long as possible. Fast through that one. Fast through this one, and brake all over the road for the hairpin, because you have to slow down for the hairpin anyway. Accelerate smoothly. Then tuck in round this corner, mind the little stones that cut the tyres. Then apex for this one just around the corner, because you want to be on the right coming down the hill. It's fast onto the bridge because the surface is quite good. Then accelerate again for this short straight. Flat out through the right and left flick. Watch it here because the road surface changes. And again as fast as possible on the approach to the hairpin. Careful through here. unfortunately, I think its days are numbered.